This is Solo in the Shop. On today's episode, I want to give you a quick shop update and then talk about some resources that I have found useful while trying to level up my woodworking business. Let's jump right in. Whether you are a hobbyist, weekend warrior, making commissions for friends and family, or already a full-time maker, if you are solo in your shop, this is the show for you. I'm Ronald Lowe's, the host of Solo in the Shop, a woodworking podcast discussing everything from current projects, tools and techniques, decisions around running a small business, and much more. So if you frequently find yourself alone and covered in sawdust, follow my journey and we can be solo in the shop together. Hello, friends. It's been busy in the shop as usual. Sales have been quite brisk. I have received 3 new table orders. I have a 4th one that I think will close tomorrow morning. And the big spalted maple table that I've been working on just got picked up in my driveway. That was a new experience for me. I usually do my white glove delivery with my wife and get to see the table in place with chairs or with family and get to see the customer's reaction. In this case, that table is going to a store and the store owner came and picked it up. Now, he loved it and he wants it. He may end up taking it to his house, but it is going to a store in Cambridge, Massachusetts first, and he has promised to send me pictures. But his reaction was worthwhile. He really, really loved it, and I was concerned about quality because he said that's what ended his relationship with the previous supplier. So I really wanted to blow him away, and he was very happy. So I loved it. I have 3 other table orders that I'm working on. I have a table that I'm building for another store that I'm hoping to finish quickly because I'm trying to minimize the investment in that one, maximize profit. I have one that is still in talks and a few other interested parties, but it's just been crazy busy. There's just a stack of tables waiting to be made. I bought a whole bunch of wood today. I want to make a cherry glued up, book matched live edge table. And then I bought a nice, pretty close to finished slab of sycamore, which I have not worked with before. I'm really looking forward to it. It looks beautiful. I can't wait to see what it looks like when I get it all flat and smooth and throw some finish on there. I'm not sure what legs I'm going to use, but it's going to be a stunner. I can tell from the live edge, it's fairly rectangular, but it's also got a lot of movement. So between the grain and the edge, I think it's going to be a beautiful table. So that's kind of what's going on in the shop. Before I get into the leveling up discussion, I want to relay a story from my childhood. When I was a Boy Scout in the 70s, I was getting ready to go on a weekend-long camping trip with my scouting troop, and I knew that one of the things we were going to be doing was working on building fires, and I didn't want to suck at that. So my dad took me to a beach. We were living in Okinawa, Japan at the time. And my brother and sister came with me and they were wandering around the beach. And my dad and I were focused on, okay, let's build a fire from scratch. And he really wanted me to do all the work. So I'm walking around looking for dry pieces of wood on a wet beach and finding some. You got to go a little bit up the hill into the dunes and finding pieces, finding leaves and stuff like that. And I'm starting to make a pile. And my dad keeps saying to me, "You're not using all your resources." And I didn't know what he was talking about. I was like, I don't have a wheelbarrow. I don't have an axe. I don't know what resources he's talking about. And after about 10 minutes of wandering and him keeps on and him repeating, "You're not using all your resources," I'm like, "What resources are you talking about?" And he's like, your brother and sister are right there. Give them an assignment. Delegate some of the work. And it hit me. I was like, you're right. They were here, and I wasn't even thinking about that. I was focused on the goal. Get what I need to build a fire. I was not thinking, what do I have at my disposal that will make this job easier? And that was my sister and my brother. And so I call them over and I give them, the assignment to help pile wood and, you go this way, you go that way, and let's, meet back here in 5 minutes with all the wood we can find. And doing it that way, I ended up with a nice, beautiful pile of wood. And my dad goes through the whole, leaves and kindling and building kind of a teepee style and putting some, digging a hole, putting some rocks around it to try and protect it from the wind so that when I light it, it doesn't just get snuffed out. And I learned a lot. And when it came time for the camping trip, I felt very comfortable with the fire making. All that to say, I'm looking back on the last year plus of running a woodworking business and thinking about all the things that it takes to level up and kind of grow my business, grow my ability. And that fire making lesson on the beach with my dad is ringing true. And I just want to share with you a few of the things that I have leaned on this year to grow this business. And so if you're trying to make a woodworking business, or any small business for that matter, it really translates to just about everything. There are many low cost and free resources that I can recommend based on my experience. Now, I've tried a whole lot more than what's on this list, and I'm intentionally omitting the things that I think are maybe of lesser value and really focusing on the things that I got a lot out of. So when it comes to growing the business, the Small Business Administration has the mentor program called SCORE, which is, I forget exactly what it stands for, but the RE in SCORE is Retired Executives. And they offer weekly meetings that cover different topics that small business people should know. And that goes, it starts with accounting and taxes to marketing and selling, everything that any business, doesn't matter what your industry, any small business benefits from these sessions. The other thing that SCORE offers is personal mentoring. I did this when I first started. I ended up with 3 mentors, and we met probably every 2 weeks for a 1-hour Zoom. And we talked about what my ideas were, what my target market was, what the process was going to be, how I was going to get raw materials, what my anticipated profit margin was going to be, and things like that. And it was hugely helpful. Eye-opening some weeks, validating some weeks, and correcting some weeks. Sometimes I had an idea and they're like, nah, I wouldn't go that way, but have you considered doing this other thing? I had considered making a table and putting it in a local restaurant near my shop, just as, here, I want to gift you this table so that people will see it and kind of drum up business that way. And they said, people don't go into a restaurant and look at tables. Now, there are finer places. Think about like a Ritz-Carlton hotel lobby or a museum, things like that, where the clientele may be wealthier, but also the table is not going to be out of place when it's a bunch of, with a bunch of restaurant tables, and it's just going to get lost in the shuffle. If you make a distinctive piece and put it where people will appreciate it, that would be more effective. And this is a whole discussion that I had with SCORE. I hadn't even considered it. So SCORE is huge. There are podcasts that I listen to. Hopefully you're listening to this one regularly, but here are some that I really recommend for anyone starting a small woodworking business, and most of them, except for the first one, for any business. The first one is Handmade Business Secrets with Zach Vaught. He is a young guy. He's a lot of energy. He's been very successful. Most of what he says is very basic, but very useful. It could be, 5 techniques that you should know. The first thing you should know about starting a business, which I just listened to recently. And it wasn't, get a good logo, get the right tools, blah, blah, blah. It was make something and sell it to a stranger. Don't sell it to friends and family. Prove that you can make something that someone you don't know wants to buy. Because if you can't do that, then you don't have a business and your business is going nowhere. Start with that. Don't worry about the name. That'll come. Make sure that you can validate your product and sell it to someone who doesn't know you. So, Handmade Business Secrets with Zach Vaught. Another great podcast is the Founders Podcast with David Serra. For anyone who owns a small business, learning from great successes like Edwin Land, Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, Charlie Munger, Dyson, just the lessons that they all share are invaluable. And David Serra reads nothing but biographies of successful founders, and he distills down all the lessons and all the things that they have in common, whether it's persistence or problem solving or selling. And I have just gotten so much value out of that. And if you're trying to make a success out of your business, it makes sense to learn from the greats of history. I also listen to the Advanced Selling podcast, and really the trick there is to learn how to sell without sounding like a car salesman. And I think the Advanced Selling podcast really captures the essence of that and how to approach different selling situations with a genuine personal connection. And that makes all the difference. I listened to the Influencer podcast with Julie Solomon. That is a great resource for anyone who is trying to grow on social media. There's a lot about brand deals and things like that, but it also covers a lot of the basics of how to present yourself and present your brand on social media. So Influencer podcast with Julie Solomon is another great resource. I previously listened to Online Marketing Made Easy with Amy Porterfield. And if you've listened to my podcast a few weeks ago, I'm a little sour on that because I realized that I was being sold. But when I was listening to kind of the podcast between periods where her digital courses are being enrolled, I got a lot of value out of that. It was a lot of stories of the experience of growing a business and the idea of building an email marketing list and lead magnets and things like that. And these are all things that I've implemented and are starting to bear fruit. So Online Marketing Made Easy. There's a few books that I've read that I think are worth your time if you are trying to build a business. E-Myth Revisited. That one really focuses on if you are a technician, which most of us in the shop are, and you are trying to grow a business. It emphasizes the importance of having systems in place so that most of your business can run without you. That is kind of the entrepreneurial goal, is to build a company where you get to do the part of the business that you want to do and the rest of the business runs. And taking yourself out of the daily function and daily process of your company allows you to position yourself where you could even sell your business and make a profit that way. Have an exit strategy where you've built a product, you've built a following for your brand, but then you step away and you kind of cash out. So having systems in place. E-Myth Revisited, great book. Alex Hormozi has a book. He has a series of books all based on $100 million, but $100 million offers I loved. It talks all about how you have a core product, and then what you want to do is keep making that product more and more attractive until not purchasing that offer would be stupid. And he has a lot of examples and a lot of elements that go into what should be in an offer for any product. Think about the old infomercials where, hey, you get a sham wow and it's $19.99, but wait, there's more. And the whole but wait, there's more is kind of the point of Alex Hormozi's book, is you want to keep adding value over and over and over until it's like, oh, I'm actually getting 20 different things and it's still only $19.99 with a money back guarantee. That's $100 million offers. And then lastly, building a story brand. I can't emphasize enough that if there's any book that you need to read to get going in business, that's the one. It really crystallizes the need for telling stories about yourself and collecting stories from your customers, because your customers want to tell you stories. And the more you can encourage them to tell you stories, the more connected you become and the more invested they become in that relationship. And it makes selling so much easier. So Building a Story Brand, another great book. Donald Miller wrote that one. I use the principles from that book on my website and in my daily interactions with prospects and customers. I try to make it smooth and natural so that they're not feeling like, oh, he's reciting this story or this line. But I've practiced quite a bit over the last 6 months in applying those techniques, and it really has made a huge difference in closing business. So I highly recommend it. The last thing I'm going to mention is this one is not free. There is a cost associated, but it's kind of a mastermind woodworkers group. It's called Handcrafted Success. It's run by Paul Menzel, who owns Philadelphia Table Company. I would consider him a friend now. I've been a member of this group for many months, and there are bi-weekly Zoom calls, and everyone in this group, I feel, is benefiting from the community and sharing knowledge and the ideas on how to grow and how to build. So it covers everything around running a business based on handcrafting products. So how to sell, how to run systems, how to grow your business, how to find new clients. Very worthwhile. I'll leave a link in the show notes for as much of these things as possible, but definitely for Handcrafted Success. I'm a huge fan and I'm a member. So if you join, you'll get to hang out with me every couple of weeks. That is what I have for this week. I have big plans and I can't wait to share all the stuff that's happening with my business and in my shop. Until next time, stay safe in your shop. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes, feel free to reach out to me at SoloInTheShop@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you got value from it and would like to help the show grow, I'd appreciate a review wherever you listen. Be sure to check the show notes for links to my socials or any extra stuff we discussed today. Until next time, stay safe in your shop, and we'll talk again soon.